Why did I put it so far? Hello world and welcome to the Super Duper channel. Today I want to talk about Huawei. Can Huawei survive? So this is a topic that has fascinated me since the whole Huawei fiasco began about a year ago in April of 2019. Recently there have been new developments that have had me asking this question, and I've scoured the internet to find out all the information I can and people's opinions on this. I decided I'm going to make a video about it and give you my thoughts on it, and I would like at the end of this video, if you watch it to the end, or even if you don't, you left some comments in the comment section to let me know what you think of my analysis and also where this is going and what will be the ultimate outcome of what was set in motion last year. So this is not going to be a deep dive into 5G and Huawei and the US-China grudge match that's been going on for a while now. It's just a very specific insight into Huawei, and for that reason I feel I should give a quick background into the travails that Huawei has been going through. So in April of 2019, the US government decided to put Huawei on its entity list, and basically this means that for Huawei to trade or to include any US products within its own products or to use them even, it had to get a special license from the US Department of Commerce. So initially when all this happened, everyone in the tech world felt like this would be a lose-lose situation. Obviously for Huawei, not having access to Google mobile services on its devices meant it couldn't have YouTube and Maps and almost all these other Google features that are a staple on any phone, even on Apple products. For Google, it would have been a big loss because Huawei had been rumored to have had its own operating system in development since 2012, and this turned out to be true. It just also turned out that the operating system was not exactly designed to work with phones. It can work with phones, yes, but it was not entirely ready for that. Huawei had its own plans with that operating system, and they recently launched a TV with the OS, Harmony OS. But so far we haven't seen any Huawei phone running on Hongmeng OS or Harmony OS as it's known globally. As the data was showing, Huawei was on track to become the largest smartphone vendor in the world by about the end of this year or in 2021. It already is right now, even with the ban, the second largest smartphone vendor in the world. And that is off the back of its success in China after the ban, because they decided to focus on their home market, which has never had Google mobile services anyway, so it didn't affect the China business in any way. There was a fear that Huawei would switch to Harmony OS, and considering Huawei's reach and its technical know-how and its research budget, it's very likely that if Huawei decides to push very seriously in this direction, then it would bring up a third player in the global mobile space. So in as much as Huawei had more or less been managing to weather the storm, it was hit with new restrictions when on May the 14th of 2020, the US government decided that it was going to impose new restrictions on companies that are working with Huawei. And the original rule was that foreign companies which use equipment or technology that is of at least 25% US origin couldn't work with Huawei without special license from the US Department of Commerce. But the Trump administration realized that this was ineffective because the most advanced chip maker in the world is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, a mouthful. So we're just going to call it TSMC from now on. So TSMC is considered to have the most advanced process node manufacturing technology in the world right now, with Samsung following closely behind. And since TSMC is a Taiwanese company and the equipment that it uses is, at least as far as we know, not of 25% US origin, it was able to keep working with Huawei without needing special license from the US government. So what the Trump administration decided to do was to ban any company that is using US technology of whatever percentage origin from working with Huawei without special license from the US. And they're able to enforce this by the simple fact that TSMC is a foundry. It doesn't design its own chips. What it does, it manufactures chips for Apple. It does for Qualcomm, which is the primary Android chipset vendor. It does this for Nvidia and AMD. And Nvidia obviously is the biggest hardware graphics company in the world right now. So for TSMC, the choice is between losing Huawei or Apple, Nvidia, AMD, and Qualcomm. So Huawei is forced to look for solutions. And anticipating this exact rule change, Huawei decided to go with SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, which is a Chinese company fully owned by the Chinese, to manufacture its 14nm process node chips. Of course, 14nm process node chips in 2020 are considered outdated. TSMC right now is in the process of producing 5nm process node chips. Those were the chips it was going to produce for Huawei, and it is producing those same chips for Apple. The assumption also is that it is making the same chips for Qualcomm. So the question is, how can Huawei survive? How can it survive if the only alternative that doesn't have to comply by these new restrictions, doesn't have technology that is as advanced as the competition? What does Huawei do? Huawei is a fabless chip company. All they do is design the chips. And these chips are not just important for its flagship phones. These chips are also important for Huawei's telecommunications equipment, its 5G base stations. I believe they know that Huawei has an option in SMIC, but they also know that SMIC is a few years behind TSMC in its process node manufacturing technology. So what exactly is the US government trying to achieve here? And from what I could see, if it could kill off Huawei, I think they would do it. But it's pretty much impossible because the Chinese government would let it do that. And Huawei has an advantage in that its home market is big enough for it to survive as long as it is innovative enough. They may not be as big as they were previously, but they will survive and they can emerge when all this blows over and come back out into the world and compete again. But what this does to Huawei and to China is that it slows down its technological ambitions, its technological accomplishments, because the Chinese have just recently pumped money into SMIC, yes, but developing this technology takes a few years, and by the time SMIC gets to 5nm, TSMC will probably have moved to 3nm or whatever comes after that.
And a lot of our commenters, who presumably know a lot more than TSMC and other people who design silicon, pointed out that something called picometers exist. And yes, believe it or not, we actually know about these fabled picometers. We've heard of them in textbooks. They're rare, but they're out there, waiting.
The US government was wary of China attaining technological parity or even superiority when it came to chip development and telecommunications. And they had been thinking about doing something about it for years, but it all came to a head with the advent of 5G in 2018, which forced the US government to make a move. So what the US government is trying to do is to slow down Huawei and China from being able to develop this high-tech technologies. But I am not sure that there is a goal beyond that, because at least as far as 5G is concerned, the US doesn't have its own homegrown competitors to Huawei. So the question is, can Huawei survive? And I think that Huawei will manage to survive, first because they have the support of their home government, secondly because China is a very large market just by itself, And lastly, I also believe that Huawei will survive because they pour a lot of money into research and development, and that means that unless something drastic happens and they have to divert that money into keeping the company afloat, they will still stay technologically competitive even if they cannot sell to Western markets anymore. But I would like to know what you guys think. So if you would please put your thoughts on my analysis and this whole situation in the comments below, I would really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed my video and my analysis of the events, like, subscribe, and share this video with all your people. I'll see you in the next video.